Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at johnnydellsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website jfa49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag. Welcome into one of your favorite, if not your favorite, Niner podcast, the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast, where we go through the whys and hows, which today will be no difference from what we normally get into for sure. I am faithful to the Bay, so go Giants. You can see my nice Nike Giants polo. The next time we come to you, we will be 1-0. Hopefully, as opening day is Thursday. Okay, and also want to get into also want to get into why we've been gone. I did see the beautiful Don Dell was in the chat, and I truly want to give a heartfelt just condolences in the passing of Don's father. And man, that's so tough on you guys. I know you went out west and you just got back, and so that's why you were gone. And definitely thoughts and prayers for just everyone, the family, the grandkiddos, your guys' kids, and just the whole family. It's a lot to go through, the loss of a parent. Luckily, I have not had to go through that, but I cannot imagine how tough that was for you guys. I saw some of the other posts and stuff from you guys, and just, man, we're the faithful are with you guys. And Dawn, thank you for sharing your husband with us as we talk Niners. And just wanted to get that out of the way. Salute to Dawn Dell and her father. So okay, yeah, Johnny,
Yeah,
how's it going?
it's going, and I appreciate that, Adam, and appreciate everybody's patience with us. Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago today. We lost my father-in-law unexpectedly. This was not we did not see this coming. He wasn't sick. He had just gotten out of back surgery a few days before and appears to have had some complications since then, or with that, and so we flew out to Washington State and spent some time there with her mother and brother and everything. So I do appreciate everybody's patience with that. I know it was at the time of we were expecting to have some shows. The 49ers went into free agency, and it was going to be, what were they going to do? There was this moment for a little while where we're going to get Joey Bosa and the Bosa brothers, and the Bosa mother was teasing us for a couple days, and then it turned out, nope, he wasn't coming here. So and really, throughout the whole thing, we just more felt like the 49ers were watching players go out the door, and then we're sending some players out the door and really not bringing anybody back in. And so it was a head scratcher moment, kind of off season, but
I mean, we
the
got a long
49ers,
snapper. Jeez, Johnny.
yeah,
Jeez.
we said goodbye to the venerable Tabor Pepper. He is no longer with us. And then, oh yeah, and then in this time over the weekend, I lost my first round. I got bounced out of the 49ers content creator March Madness. I was matched up against Nicholas McGee, and he took me down in the first round. Some of that may have also been because I wasn't able to be on a show and push that and have everybody go vote. But is what it is. Maybe one year I'll crack the first round. Last year I was matched up against Tracy Sandler, and I went down in flames. Tracy totally that I think she had that one before the bracket even came out, that I was going down. So, but yeah, the 49ers strategy this offseason during free agency really left us scratching our heads. There was only one team that spent less cash than the 49ers this free agency period. Did you know that, Adam? Only one team. Now, it's a little bit different when you look at number of players signed or APY, but as far as cash spent, there is only one team that spent less cash than the 49ers this free agency cycle. Do you know who it was, Adam?
No,
Don't Google it. Can you
no,
guess? See some
Eagles.
guesses in the chat. Who would make sense of not needing to spend any money this free agency? Not even a guess. He's just blank staring. I didn't. I took him by surprise here.
Yeah.
There's a glitch in the matrix.
Yeah, I'm speechless. Yeah, write that down. March 24th. Um, there's 10 teams that I mean could.
The only team that spent less cash than the 49ers were the Eagles,
Okay,
just coming off a Super Bowl win.
I just guessed that.
You you didn't actually guess. You just kind of threw it out there. So
It came out of my mouth. I
yeah.
want my credit.
Anyways, yeah, the Eagles were the only ones. Even the Browns spent more cash. The Browns, who in free agency, who are in cap hell, they spent more cash. It was clearly a directive from the 49ers and Jed York this year. And look, I've given Jed York some credit over the years for having an organization that's been one of the better organizations, a top 4 or 5 organization in the league for the last 15 years or so. But this offseason was clearly a directive that they weren't getting the results for their money. They spent a lot of money in the last several years, fell short. And then this last offseason clearly went off the rails, clearly had some bad signings. And it was a time to say, we're not going to overpay for underperformance. That's essentially what this offseason is about. Is we're not overpaying for players anymore, and we're going to get high value out of our money. Whether they actually do get that money is yet to be seen. The cupboard is rather bare right now. Now they have a lot of players on the roster. They have like 71 players on the roster, but do they have 22 starters? That's the question.
Well, we
And
have
and
97
right now, I
picks,
don't think so.
so
We have
right.
97 picks. Yeah. I mean, and it is hard to look at this and say, okay, what are the 49ers doing? They were a team that, outside of last season getting derailed, we're just in the Super Bowl. You should be pushing to go over the hump. And I think what they're looking at is eventually you have to ease off the gas pedal on that a little bit because you've been overpaying, trying so hard to get over the hump. You've been overpaying for less performance. Malik Collins would be a great example. You were paying him $10 million for performance that was not $10 million worth of performance.
Yeah.
You're paying, and as much as I love Dre Greenlaw, they weren't going to pay for somebody who has missed time
Yeah.
in 41% of the games that he has been on the team for.
He's not
So
playing 17 games for the Broncos. I'll mark that down right now. He's not.
he's not. I mean, look, 36 games missed in 100 games in appearance, and 5 times he left games early. So that's 41% of the games that he has played. He has missed.
That's
He has
tough.
not started and finished the game. That
He's so
it's
freaking
hard to
good.
pay somebody. He's so incredibly talented, but it's so hard to pay somebody a lot of money for that kind of lack of availability. And I get it. A lot of that was this last season with the injuries of and trying to come back from that Achilles. But he has also missed other time. I mean, he's missed almost 20 other games outside of just this season. And so uh that's just not there enough. Even if you add those games in, it's only a 75 or 74% availability rate. You can't pay top tier money for somebody who's gone a quarter of the time. That's equivalent to missing 4 games a year. And 4 games a year would Dre out, and you're paying him, $1 million a game or so. That's money that might cost you a number 1 seed. It might cost you, uh, a playoff game. So how do you justify spending that kind of money? And Leonard Floyd, I think that one was harder because he had 9.5 sacks last year, and he seemed productive. But I remember watching the film. A lot of those sacks were not necessarily Leonard Floyd being highly productive. Those were opportunity sacks. It was cleaning it up after Nick Bosa had already made the pressure, or it was a coverage sack. The coverage was doing so well. So when I looked at the amount of performance they were getting per their money, and could you have plugged Sam O in there all season long and gotten the similar numbers? I think you could have. I really do.
Right.
And I think the 49ers felt the same way. So why pay him for another year that you can get younger and cheaper and get the same kind of production? It does make you wonder the why they didn't go out and get anybody else. There was some defensive linemen that were available, and they haven't gone out and really brought anybody in. I think really they're looking at, we have a very stacked defensive line class. We've been talking about it since the Senior Bowl, and they know they can get at least 2 starters in this draft. I think that's exactly where they're looking at. They that's where their mindset's at, and so they're saying we are going to get cheaper and younger on the defensive line and really save some money. Because if you look at the monies that defensive linemen are getting right now, it is wild. It is wild what some of these guys are making.
So thank you to Zach coming in. I know I'm in the minority, he says, and that's okay. I don't mind it here. Come on in. The water's nice. But I really just like about everything the 49ers have done this offseason. They are resetting the money, which they would have needed to do at some point. I'm excited for the season.
Mhm.
I'll lump myself in there. I will say that I saw on Instagram the thing about John Lynch saying, "Hey, we have a plan. We're excited." Now, I get that he has to come out and say something, and he has a lot of maybe angry Niner fans on him, and he has to say something. But he I overall, I just feel like he hasn't necessarily steered us wrong. And so when he says that he's excited, and when Zach says he's excited, hey, those two are good enough for me. Zach and John. If those guys are in, I'm in.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the 49ers, they had to start resetting the money somewhere, because what they did, and this is part of why they're eating so much dead money right now, is that they were trying to create as much cap space in 2025 as possible. And with the idea being we can keep Brock on a little bit lower of a deal then. And if you were just coming off of a Super Bowl run, you get another year to make another big Super Bowl run, and you're still rolling. The issue was, you have Brandon Ayuk with a long-term knee injury. We talked to Desi on the show, and she spelled it out for us. It was the unhappy triad. He will most likely not be back even to 100% form until 2026. That even if he's ahead of schedule, he will not be back to 100%, maybe by January, maybe if he's well ahead of schedule. If he's on schedule, he won't be healthy until fully 100% healthy until the off season of 2026. And so you're looking at, okay, you're going to have a drop in production from Brandon Ayuk. That you can almost guarantee. His performance will not be the same. You are now looking at, your defensive line was not what you were hoping it would be. You thought it would be a really good pairing here with Jordan Elliott, Javon Hargrave, Malik Collins and this trifecta of run stoppers and pass rushers, and you pair them with Nick Bosa and you get Leonard Floyd, and this is going to be a beast of a defensive line. It hasn't been that. It just hasn't. You have Nick Bosa, who's been a dog. Javon Hargrave has been underwhelming. Malik Collins was a very not great fit here. You start to understand why D'Amico Ryans was so willing to let him go for a 6th round pick. And so they let those guys go, and you go, well, you got to rebuild the defensive line. And so you're not just let's just push to get over the hump on this 1 year and keep the pedal on the gas. You say we have to reset our numbers here, because where the 49ers were headed was to be one of the lowest cap number teams in 2026. That's where they were headed, with almost no wiggle room. So they looked at it and said, we can't keep this defensive line. This is not a championship quality defensive line. I don't think anybody looked at our defensive line last year and said, this is a championship caliber defensive line. This
Right.
is on par with what the Eagles brought into the Super Bowl. Nobody was looking at our defensive line that way. So you're going to reset the defensive line. This is a good draft to do that. So why put the money into it? And let's start adjusting our cap on this. We've been overpaying for defensive linemen and haven't been getting the payout. So we're not going to do that anymore. We're not overpaying for defensive linemen in free agency to try and plug holes. We've got to draft well. That's their strategy, is we have to draft well on the defensive line. We got to invest early and hit these picks. You can't have a Drake Jackson. I think they're going to go for high productivity guys. To me, that's why I think Walter Nolan probably isn't there for them at 11. Like, that's what they're looking at. I think physically he is so talented, but he is so raw. I think of Drake Jackson, I think of Javon Kinlaw, and I think of Solomon Thomas, and I think they are going to steer clear of that. This isn't a rebuild. They had if you're going to choose a year when the cap goes up and you can still have some flexibility spending this year and set yourself up for 2026, then this is that year. Much like the Rams did when they completely gutted their defensive line and rebuilt it in 18 months. So, and they have a great defensive line now with Braden Fisk and Jared Verse and Byron Young. Like, they have a great defensive line. We can do the same thing, and you get much cheaper, and you set yourself up for success. So again, the 49ers were headed for very low cap space in 2026. They were going to be like bottom 5 cap space. They were number 1 going into the season because of all the restructures. Well, because of that, they're paying that now because they have $77 million in dead money, 77.9 really. They still have $42 million now that I expect the lion's share of that, probably about 30 million, maybe 20, depending on what Brock's contract will be rolled over into 2026. But even with all of that rollover and with clearing all of that space, because remember, the money that they're having dead money is not money that wasn't going to count against the cap at some point. It was going to count in 2026 or 2027 when guys' contracts ran out. It was going to count against the cap. What they're doing is they're moving up the schedule. This is money that's already been paid out. So what they're saving into 2026 is all the salary that they would have paid this season, which is something like $35 million on a lot of these guys when you add it all up. So they've basically created $35 million more in space in 2026. And, in 2026, they're still, like, just to put it in perspective of where the team is, and I had it here. So they're at $58 million in cap space for next season right now. That is middle of the league. So that's after they have created all this space that is now going to be available there, or basically shoved a bunch of dead money from 2026 to 2025, if that all makes sense. They moved a lot of that up into this season. So with that, now they were going to be in the bottom 5 of cap space going into that year. When you look at a team like the Seahawks right now have about $167 million in cap space in 2026. The Chargers 152, Commanders 100, Rams 75. So they were well behind everybody else who was trying to play catch up on them, and so they just were not in a place where if we kept the gas pedal on and we were wasting it on a defensive line that is not championship quality, then essentially we're going to let everybody else pass us up. So I do like their approach in the sense of let's bite the bullet, let's not pay for what we're not getting the performance on and move forward. That's what I like about this offseason strategy. Now, what I don't like is that we're looking at the roster and saying, well, there's a lot of hope and prayer in this roster. That's what it feels like.
And with the draft, so Zach and Callie saying, you know, Callie Young says basically what you're saying is we must have the best draft in franchise history. That's a lot of pressure to put on a draft class. And of course, Zach, nothing's gonna get me down, fam. And yeah, they don't have to technically be. Obviously, there's some tongue in cheekness there, I believe, with Callie, but they do have to be good. The 49ers, after the Trey Lance debacle and then being saved in the at fourth and goal with 1 second on the clock, they get Brock Purdy. But with that debacle, they do need to hit on if they're going to do some trading. Obviously, the I you heard it here first. They are going to make a trade as far as all these draft picks. They're not going to use them all. They have some of them as collateral to maybe move up in the third or whatever it is. It's going to happen. So, but
I
they
do
have to
I do
hit on
expect
it.
them to move up in this draft. I
Yeah,
expect them to move up in this draft and get some more premium guys. And look, again, we've been talking about it. I don't think they're looking at it that we have to have a generational draft along the board. They still have a lot of skill players. You still have Ricky Pearsall, you still have Juwan Jennings, you still have George Kittle, you still have Christian McCaffrey, you got Isaac Renda, who is a great receiving back. He's got as we've talked about, he's got a long way to go as far as figuring out how to perform in the run game. You still have Kyle Juszczyk. You just signed a big
barely.
upgrade at tight end too. Um, your offensive line, it's got some holes, but I mean, look, when Aaron Banks is going and getting paid $18 million a year,
To
and
the
everybody
Packers,
knows how I felt about Aaron Banks, I was like, my goodness, when Jalen Moore, our
to the
backup
Chiefs.
tackle, is going and getting paid $15 million a year for the
So
Chiefs.
weird.
Like
That's so
that's when you
weird.
go, okay, this spending cycle was wild. So like they still have a lot of pieces there. You still have Fred Warner, you still have Diamador Lenore, you still have Malik Mustafi, you still got Renardo Green, you got some good pieces there. You still have Nick Bosa. So you have a lot of blue chip players. You have the core of what you need. You got to plug in some young guys there, absolutely. But you got some young guys who showed a lot of promises last year, like Sam O, like Evan Anderson. You still got Jordan Elliott, who was a very good run defender this last year, and I think can do some. He has to stay healthy. Uh, I mean, you have players, you do have guys that are there, but it does leave a little bit less room for margin of error. I mean, now Ben Barch, we hope that he can stay healthy. He had the unfortunate ankle issue last year, but we already talked about him when in the short time he had playing this year, he looked miles ahead of where Aaron Banks was. And as far as I understand, has a lot fewer issues of keeping his weight down than Aaron Banks did. So, like again, you're not overpaying for this stuff. Really, the biggest thing they got to do is hit on the defensive line in this draft. And like we said, this is a defensive line that is stacked with talent in this draft. So you get two players in the top 64, which they're going to have. They're going to have two players in the top 40 in this draft, or 44, I think. You're going to get two starters in there, defensive line. Like you can guarantee it that I mean, I could be picking for them over the first two rounds and get two defensive line starters. Adam could be picking for them in the first two rounds and get two starters, which is really saying something. No, I'm just kidding. But it's not necessarily you have to have a generational draft. You have a generational defensive line draft. as far as depth coming through is what it appears. And so I think that's what it's more about. But yeah, just I mean, wild kind of turn of events and the 49ers. Look, I still think they're in a good position.
Yeah, again, John Lynch, we're with you. If you say you're excited, then we're excited to see what you're going to do. I'm excited for the draft. I want to we'll maybe end on this with Brock Purdy
Well,
because
let's
there's
talk about the
enough.
Mac Jones thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm where I'm getting at. So, first of all, my mom's bobblehead of Jimmy G can just rest comfortably as number 10. You know, there is a quarterback wearing number 10. So let's go ahead. We're okay there. But yeah, they showed that clip from the Pro Bowl where he kept running. Like they blew the whistle that he was down or whatever in the Pro Bowl, which why did he make the Pro Bowl anyway? And it was the last year where they actually put on pads and he was like down because they didn't want to have him get crushed. And then he kept going like he ran for
Yeah.
like a touchdown or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, the 49ers got this guy. He's gonna break the game." Like just crazy. Real quick, Cornelius, thank you for the super chat. He says, "Why is Jake Brendel still on the roster?"
I wish I knew, man. I wish I knew. Everybody knows my opinion on Jake Brendel. Um, yeah, I I can't. I can't with Jake. I really hope I'm really pulling for Jackson Slater to be drafted and be our new center. I really am. I think they can get him in the 3rd or 4th round. Um, but gosh, that one hurts.
So weird for sure. So we have Mac Jones and Brock Purdy. Mac Jones uh, actually showed Brock Purdy the campus, and they're kind of buddies. They know each other, and at Alabama, I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
so Mac Jones comes in, I think, with a good attitude. He said he's excited to learn from Brock. He recognizes that it's not necessarily a competition like they have in Indy, which that is a ridiculousness over there. As I live in Indiana, so I hear all about it. So it is not necessarily a competition. I think it's good. Here's what's funny. We all thought Mac Jones was going to be a 49er like years ago anyway. And I was talking to my dad about this. How weird is it that the debacle that I talked about with Trey Lance and all those picks when we could have had Mac Jones this whole time, and I wonder what he could do a la Sam Darnold. Like Sam Darnold had crappy situations, gets to a good situation and blossoms. And now he's the man in Seattle. And we got to face him twice a year now. So is Mac Jones going to be that guy where, okay, we actually have confidence that he can step in if Brock needs to miss 2-3 games? Like, is that the situation? I'm willing to say yes. I mean, because of the history of quarterbacks that under Shanahan backups what they've shown, you know. I don't know. Johnny, do you like having Mac Jones on the roster?
So I had some people trying to, getting kind of a little irritable with me, like because I've been kind of teasing, like I feel like the 49ers are about to do something. I feel like they're about to uh that they were going to bring somebody in. I kept saying I didn't think Brock Purdy was going to get signed before free agency because I felt like they were going to bring in somebody to compete with, not compete, but as use as leverage on Brock Purdy as far as you need to sign your deal. Um, and I took some flack for this. I will say, just what I had talked to somebody about, and they told me a few things, and I pieced together just from the vague details, kind of looked at the logic of it and tried to figure out who was in play at this. And so I said it on Dre's show. You can go to his X account. I'm looking at it right here. It's from March 12th. He reposted this. Um, that I said on his channel. He kept pushing me, and I said, okay, here's what I think is going to happen. I think the 49ers are going to sign Mac Jones in free agency. Uh, I said that back in February, and he reposted it on March 12th because that was the day we signed Mac Jones. I said, I think they're going to sign Mac Jones and use him as leverage on Brock Purdy, in the sense that they're going to say, Brock, here's a young guy that we wanted several years ago. And it's a young guy that has starting experience that we would feel confident putting behind center and can win us some games. So if you decide to hold out, we're willing to take this into September, and play with Mac Jones, who has a chance with our team and these weapons to revitalize his career. And you may not reclaim your starting spot if he plays well enough. Um, that can sound a little ridiculous, when we look at Mac Jones's history there, but we know that this was somebody who played really well in a West Coast system, very similar to Shanahan's, with Sarkisian. We know that Shanahan liked him, that Mac Jones was the original guy that they had in mind when they traded up to number 3, that Mac Jones was the guy. And then they eventually wanted into Trey Lance more. They got wooed by the measurables. And so there's a lot of things there. Just because Mac Jones fell apart in New England doesn't mean that Shanahan's going to say, "Well, I believe that because he wasn't successful with them, that I can't make him successful." No, he's going to. And so, like, all of this is what I was concerned about, was that they were going to bring him in, specifically Mac Jones, and that was going to be a signal fire for me that the contract negotiations with Brock Purdy were going to be a little bit more hardball and tougher than anybody has been claiming it's going to be. I think there's been a lot of media smokescreen the 49ers have been putting out to try and say that this isn't going to be bad. This isn't going to be rough. This is all going to be amicable. Everybody wants this to work out. Everybody wants him to be here. I think they've been wanting to do that because there has been this animus in the social media with guys like Debo, with guys like Brandon Ayuk, with guys like Nick Bosa, that they were trying to get ahead of that and say, we're not doing that with Brock. We're not doing that with Brock. But this move tells me they are, because this is exactly what I suspected they were going to do. The only quarterback I thought they would go after, because I thought, with as far as I've understood how they were preparing to treat Brock Purdy in this contract negotiation, I went, they're gonna go out, if this is the way they go, they're gonna go out and get Mac Jones, and he's gonna be a guy, and they're gonna use him as leverage, in that we're comfortable with him starting. Not at the pay scale, and I've taken some flack for that. People going, what leverage? Oh my gosh, no. Look, it is what it is. And the guy who I'd heard some of this stuff from told me I was exactly right on my prediction. And he didn't give me the details. He said you figured it out. So is what it is.
Yeah. Dr. Steve says, I hope Jones isn't the future. He's not easy to
I mean,
record.
I don't think he's the future. I don't mean that in any way. It's just a way that the issue was they didn't get leverage on Brandon Ayuk for his contract until they signed Ricky Pearsall. That was the issue, is that they couldn't leverage Ayuk with, we have a better option against you, until after the draft, and they spent a first round pick on him. This gives them that leverage early. And I'll just have to stop talking there.
Well, there's a first.
Well, it's not my stuff to tell. So
Yeah. No, well, this is always one of those wait and see kind of things where, we like to talk through it a little bit. Did you see the thing that was floating around that just made me laugh? Was the Aaron Rodgers thing, where we get 3 picks for Brock Purdy and then just bring in Aaron Rodgers, and the thing, whoever posted it, in that post, in the meme or like whatever, it says everyone wins. And I'm like, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is, like, Pittsburgh didn't even want him, and they need him. Like, they don't have anybody really, basically.
well, I think Aaron Rodgers doesn't know what he wants.
He's in a cave somewhere. He's in the Cave of Wonders with Aladdin.
I mean, look, and look, the guys had a long, very, uh, what am I trying to say? A very, got a lot of accolades through his career. He's accomplished a lot. He has the right to figure it out. Now, other teams also have the right to not plan on you. There does come a point where you say, "Look, I've got to give some people some certainty or something here, so the teams can plan and move forward." Um, I don't like the idea of flirting with teams and then just kind of like at some point you gotta crap or get off the pot. And so it is what it is. With Aaron Rodgers to the 49ers, I think that you're right. It's laughable and it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
The solution is obvious. We have to sign Aaron Rodgers after he gets shot. Quit football.
Oh
Another
my
super chat.
gosh. Whoa.
Thank you,
Zach
Zach,
coming
so
in,
much.
making up
Holy
for
cow.
time.
Man, it's okay, Johnny. I know what you're talking about. I think it'll be a pretty smooth signing nonetheless. Less because of the 49ers front office wanting leverage, but more of Purdy's character. We shall see. Now, again, thanks, Zach. Now, to that, what do you think of the reports that saying that he's not going to take any hometown discount? He is expecting to be paid. What there is there truth to that? How do we know for sure? Have you seen those that came
I
out?
mean, look, I think that's people reading the tea leaves and just saying, this is what everybody's done. When it comes to this one, I think Zach's right in that Purdy's character. I think there's going to be, and this is where some of the media stuff is out there. Look, they're not expecting any fireworks. I don't think Brock Purdy is going to go out there and say, "I demand a trade." You're not going to see that. You know, you're not going to see Brock is very quiet on social media, period. So you're not going to see him in a commercial, talking about, you know, uh, with a bunch of cows and talking about wanting to live in Texas or something. You're not going to see anything like that. I do think here's the thing when it comes to like hometown discounts. When guys are signing their second contracts, they don't exist. They just don't. Um, you only get one chance at a second contract. And your second contract is the one that, I mean, Brock Purdy's been playing at an incredible discount. Yes, he got some good um sponsorship deals last year, but that's nothing compared to the contract that he's looking at. He's looking at potentially 200 to 250 million dollars guaranteed. If it goes along the lines of some of these other contracts that have happened. Um that is generational money. You can spend, $5 million a year for 50 years. Uh, that's a lot of money, and you're doing okay. So, and Brock's again, what we know from Brock's character, Brock might also look at this and say, "I can spend this money and put this money towards a lot better things than the Yorks can put this money." Um, so it's not as much like hometown discount. I don't know. Maybe, but you also with some of the moves that they're making right now, you say, well, uh, as far as what we're seeing, this is about cash spending. It's not even about as much about the salary cap. There's some of that there, but there's also a big desire to just reduce the amount of cash spending and guarantees because they're not giving out big guarantees. And when guaranteed money is given out in a contract, the owner has to put that money in escrow. So if, for example, you have in the 2027 salary is fully guaranteed, that 2027 salary money has to be put in an escrow account so that it is guaranteed that it is there, and that it will be paid out at that time. Now, the owner can put it into like a money market account and get interest off of that, but he can't use that money. He can't get to 2027 and say, well, I'm sorry, I can't pay you your contract. It has to be put in escrow. So it has to leave his account at that time. And so what we're seeing is some of that. And if I'm Brock Purdy, I'm also saying, I'm not trusting that you are actually going to be giving this money out in guarantees and getting the contracts to keep the talent around us, and keep certain players. So that's how I feel about that. But I think he's 100% right about Brock Purdy's character, and we may work on something to see if we can't find a little bit more insight into that as we go forward through this process.
Yeah, gonna be interesting to see. I don't expect anything in the next 2 weeks per se. Just a bunch of yap. I do think that a domino is that will fall in the next. Well, I don't know. Talking about Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if in 2 weeks that domino will fall. It's so crazy. Just as overlooking the NFL as a whole. I mean, we had a lot of movement, and I feel like that's the one domino that I don't know. Does Aaron Rodgers affect the NFC West at all? I don't think so, but we have seen stranger things like happen for sure. So, man. So, you down for Friday then?
Oh yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna get back to some draft stuff. We're gonna get some more prospects in there. I was watching some tape on the plane. Man, I love me some Jamari Caldwell. I'm just saying, every game I've watched of that kid, I'm loving everything I'm seeing. I'm excited.
I love me
And
some meat.
and John Lynch was at the Oregon Pro Day, so he was there in person. And he was talking with Jeffrey Bossa for a while, another guy I've been pounding the table for. So that's what I like there. I'm really liking the idea of a Jamari Caldwell on this team. I'm just saying, like they don't have to spend number 11 on him. I think if they get a trade partner, they could trade back to 20. The question is, how does the rest of the league feel about Jamari? I think his draft stock has been rising quickly this offseason, but he's somebody I want to see in a 49ers uniform next year.
Yeah. Well, we better go before a vein in Patel's forehead snaps. Hang out with us Friday, Patel, for sure. Do not hang out. We still appreciate you in the chat. Even though you fire everybody up. That is totally fine. I am with that. I am for sure with that. So, in the meantime, in between time, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, go Giants on Thursday and go Niners.